So we're starting to see some red flag statements. A, because this interview is actually allowing him to talk, unlike Nancy Grace and unlike the news reporter who we analyzed, where they continuously fed the responses to him or asked closed binary yes no questions, which didn't allow him to elaborate. But here, Web Sleuth is letting him ramble on and doing it, I think, late at night while he's angry, which is great. Do innocent people ever explode out of frustration, or is that something only guilty people do, perhaps to scare off sleuths from digging deeper? Hello, detectives. I'm Deception Detective. I'm an attorney trained in statement analysis, and this channel exists to expose lies and manipulation. We're at almost 100,000 subscribers, so if this is your first time here, please hit subscribe. And if you're a regular, thank you for subscribing. Make sure to hit like if you want more like this. Today, we'll analyze part of Chris Proudfoot's interview with Web Sleuths to determine if he has guilty knowledge. This video is part of my Sebastian Rogers series. That link, as well as the link to the Web Sleuths original video, is in the description. I've not watched this interview before, but multiple DD4 members sent it to me this morning because it happened just 14 hours ago. So without further ado, let's listen.
And we will always be polite to our guests. Okay, so who do we have here? Who do we have here? I've put you on the platform.
You have me, Chris.
Hi, Chris Proudfoot.
Hello.
I really appreciate you coming here. I'm going to change the banner really quickly so everybody knows it's you. But I don't know how long you've been listening.
Long enough.
Okay, you sound angry. Talk to me.
Oh, I'm very.
Talk to me. We don't want to get you. The last thing we want to do, Chris, is cause problems between you and Seth. I swear to God.
Well,
So
I understand that, but let me help you with something.
Okay.
Okay, a lot of the information that I've been listening to on your show, coming from Chloe, the questions that are coming through people, it's very sickening and disgusting, to be personally honest with you.
Okay, let's talk about it.
So let me go ahead and address a few things to help y'all out.
Okay.
Since, Chloe, you're the PI. I haven't had a chance to talk to you. You haven't even called me.
For context, it looks like Web Sleuths was doing a live talking about the case, and they had a private investigator named Chloe on the call. So this wasn't a prearranged interview with Chris Proudfoot, from what I understand here. It seems like he was watching their live stream and called in to defend himself, and he seems very upset. And this is something we've seen before on the channel. If you've seen my series on Summer Wells, a little girl who went missing, and her parents spent a lot of time monitoring social media, watching YouTube live streams, watching Facebook lives, and actually calling in and doing belligerent phone calls with influencers. And I believe that those parents were guilty. So the fact that Chris is calling into a show when you expect him to be doing something more productive towards finding his son, like maybe doing a polygraph, which he still hasn't done. So whether or not you think polygraphs are particularly useful, it's still something you'd expect an innocent parent to do, just so the police can feel more confident ruling them off the suspect list and allocating more resources somewhere else. So instead of doing stuff like that, he's calling into YouTube shows. Does this mean he's guilty? No.
You ain't done anything, first off.
Heather has been
is the only one. Heather is the only one who has reached out to me or to my wife.
I
So for you to
actually
sit on this
reached out to
show
you,
and sit here
a month
and
or
give
so ago,
information
and
that you have, that you don't have all the answers to, is a problem.
Okay, well, Chris, help us understand, because I know Chloe, and Chloe wants to help. And the last thing Chloe would do is want to put out misinformation. And the problem is...
Okay, I understand that. So let me just smash something real quick.
Okay.
Okay, first and foremost, anything that goes on between me and my wife is not a damn bit of anybody's personal business. I don't care what you think. I don't care what y'all got to say. That'd be like me splashing all your business out to the world.
Another thing that's a similarity between Don Wells and Chris Proudfoot is they seem to be very aggressive with women. But when it comes to being interviewed by men, they either run away or they act like little lambs, like we saw Don Wells do with Dr. Phil. I did 3 videos about that interview. I've also invited Don Wells to do an interview with me and never heard back. And in my earliest videos, in fact, in all 3 videos I've done about Sebastian Rogers, I've invited the Proudfoots to do an interview with me, and I've not heard back from either of them. And the thing is, I even did 2 videos on my second channel, DD Forum, which just reached 1,000 subscribers. So thank you everyone who subscribed there, about how I think that it's more likely statistically that Sebastian Rogers ran away than had his parents do something cold-blooded to him. So I've given them every benefit of the doubt. I've not been aggressive towards them. I've invited them to do an interview with me, but they still refuse and ignore my entreaties. And I think that's because Chris, kind of like Don Wells, is a chauvinist, and he thinks that women are going to be easier to fool, perhaps, easier to control, and easier to bully. And you can see a lot of that here. He doesn't care if Chloe's a private investigator, or that Web Sleuth is an influencer on YouTube. He's lecturing them the same way he would lecture a child. And this is typical of chauvinists.
Okay.
It does.
And just one more point about that. Just because someone is a chauvinist or is unlikable, or in the case of Amanda Knox or Nicole Kessinger or other unlikable people we've covered on my channel, it doesn't mean they are criminals. That's a very important point. So just because someone's unlikable doesn't mean we can conclude, okay, he was strict to Sebastian, he's mean, he's being rude to these women, he must have killed Sebastian. That is not a leap we can make logically. There's plenty of unlikable people, of rude, chauvinistic assholes who did not kill their children. So we can't let stereotypes or small salacious details like the fact that he might have a criminal record or there might be some sort of custody battle with his ex-wife. We can't interpret those too much beyond what they allow us to interpret.
Does not matter what goes on in my house. We're looking for my son. That's real simple.
Your stepson, right?
It doesn't matter. Stepson, my son. All the kids are treated as if they're your own. There is no title, a stepson, a son. It does not matter. That boy is loved by me just like he is my own. Just like he's my own.
Okay, Chris, may I ask you something?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I've been doing this for a long time, and let me tell you why people are asking personal questions about you and your wife. Okay, it's because of the situation in which Sebastian has gone missing, and they're wondering if whatever happened between you and your wife, does it have something to do with Sebastian going missing?
And she's right. And this is very reasonable. So if you're like me, I don't think they necessarily killed Sebastian. However, they may have been so strict on him or so controlling or potentially abusive towards him that he decided the better option for him was to run away, and then something unfortunate befell him, like he ran into a genuine predator, which is still statistically unlikely, or an accident befell him. And if you've seen my video that I did on my second channel using AI to find missing children, you'll know about the case of Harley Dilly, who I think was in a similar situation to Sebastian, where his parents weren't the best parents in the world. He was a little bit different than the normal kid, and he would run away from his house from time to time. And on one occasion, he got stuck in a chimney of an abandoned house. So a house, he would go down the chimney and go hang out there while he was skipping school. And he got stuck in the chimney on one occasion. Everyone blamed the parents. Everybody was suspected the parents because they seemed to have been not the best parents in the world, sort of like the Proudfoots. Uh, but it turned out that their poor parenting might have been a contributing factor to a tragedy, but they didn't plan it or orchestrate it. And that is why I think Webb Sluice is saying that Chris and Katie's parenting style or their relationship or the situation in that house is important because it could have contributed to Sebastian either running away or coming in contact with predators. Let's say they had lots of strange men coming through the house, and one of them spotted Sebastian's, decided he would come back one day, maybe knock on the window and have Sebastian come out and then kidnap him. So what went on in the house is important, whether you think they killed Sebastian or you think that he ran away or you think a predator came or any number of options. The way he was raised and what was going on in the house could be a contributing factor to any number of options, and that's why it's important.
I swear to you, it's not to be nosy. It's not to be rude. It's just trying to figure out what happened to Sebastian. And
Okay, so let me make this even crystal clear for you.
okay,
And everybody out there that's got all these negativity, disgusting comments and questions that y'all think you know anything about, when honestly you don't know a damn thing.
This is an interesting statement. So, did you spot it? Let's keep listening and then we'll come back to that.
And that's the problem. You assume, you speculate, all this crap. You have no idea what me, my family, my wife, everybody involved is going through, to include Seth, his mom, and everybody else.
So, one of his criticisms, and we've seen this in a lot of cases, and in fact, it's another similarity to Don Wells. So, if you haven't seen that series, I'll link it in the description below. It's one of my most popular series. He is looking down on Webb Sluice and the PI because they don't know what happened, right? They're just guessing, they're speculating. But as far as he knows, he also doesn't know anything. So, how is it that he can look down on them for not knowing anything if he's also not supposed to know anything? It's like if I know a secret and I'm smugly looking at everybody who doesn't know my little secret and thinking how stupid they are because they don't know, right? If I bought some crypto coin and I know it's going to shoot up and I know everyone else doesn't know about it and I'm standing smugly in the corner of the room thinking they all don't know. So this is interesting that this is one of his one of the ways he belittles them is that they don't know what happened. He should be in the same boat as them. Now, if they're saying, I didn't watch the rest of this, right? I just came to the part where Chris Proudfoot joined the call. Let's say they were saying theories that he and Kate might have done something to Sebastian, right? Or they're being very sensational and very, fantastical about what could have happened at his expense. I can understand his frustration, but I still wouldn't expect him to belittle them for not knowing what happened. He shouldn't know either. In fact, he wasn't there when Sebastian went missing. So the fact that he shows zero curiosity about what might have happened is a red flag. It's the red flag of a hoax. For all he knows, Katie might have done something to Sebastian, might have accidentally knocked him on the head with a pan when she lost her temper and then hit his body and then called him and told him Sebastian ran away. But he shows zero curiosity about what happened, zero curiosity about Katie, and that typically is the red flag of a hoax. We saw it in the McCann case when Kate went into the room and Madeline was allegedly kidnapped, and then Jerry had zero suspicion about her. The Summer Wells case. Summer went missing allegedly when it was just her and her mom and her grandma. Don Well comes home, his daughter's missing. He has zero curiosity about the mom or the grandma or what happened. And Chris Proudfoot seems to be following that same pattern of zero curiosity about what actually happened. And one of the best inferences we can make when a parent of a missing child has zero curiosity about what happened is that they know what happened. Whether they were in on the planning of it or if the other parent confided in them and they decided to script the rest of their story and keep the secret between them. So let's listen to that again, because that's probably the most telling statement he's made yet.
this even crystal clear for you.
Okay.
And everybody out there that's got all these negativity, disgusting comments and questions that y'all think you know anything about, when honestly, you don't know a damn thing.
How does he know they don't know anything? He wasn't there. How does he know who people who have speculations about how Katie disciplined Sebastian are speculations about the alleged flashlights that were seen? Or Katie waking up in the night or questioning that story? How does he know they don't know anything? See, we always speak based on everything we know. And when people's tempers are flared up, that's usually when they slip up. And if you've seen my first video in my Summer Wells series called Can People Project Their Guilt? You'll see Don Wells have lots of flare ups, just like Chris is having here, where he reveals some very, very disturbing things, some of the most disturbing things we've covered on the channel about his views on women, his views on his daughter in particular, and her sexuality. So if you haven't watched that, I'll also link that video. And Chris seems to be following that same pattern.
And that's the problem. You assume, you speculate, all this crap. You have no idea what me, my family, my wife, everybody involved is going through, to include Seth, his mom, and everybody else.
Okay.
Because it's the vile, disgusting crap that comes out of people's mouth. Yes, I'm a very pissed off stepfather to this whole situation.
Okay. And I understand and I hear what you're saying. But again,
So let me help y'all with something. 'Cause
okay.
y'all said some shit that's really, y'all have no, it's really none of your damn business. But since you brought it up, I'm clear it.
Okay.
My parents didn't go to Alaska 2 days after he went missing.
I don't think
Why my
anybody said
parents
that.
went to Alaska was
That is
because
fine.
my stepfather went for work.
Okay. Nobody said they went 2 days after he went
Oh
missing.
no,
They
it's
said,
out there. Trust me, because I have
Okay,
terabytes.
I did not say that.
I
nobody
didn't say
said that
you.
here.
I
Okay.
said people.
Okay.
Now I have terabytes.
So now he's chastising these women for stuff other people have said. So imagine how many YouTubers he's watching, how he's monitoring what's going on online. And this is something we typically see guilty parents do. For example, Letitia Stouch did this. In my opinion, the Wells are guilty. They did this. They monitored social media. Did you see Gannon Stouch's biological mom monitoring social media? The reason guilty people sit around watching social media is because they're insecure. They know they're guilty. They want to monitor. What do they know? Have they found anything? What holes in my story are they figuring out that I need to plug up? Or in this case, what things are they saying that I can try to bully them into stopping, into quit talking about? And this getting people riled up at a certain point is a technique. So if you have a copy of the deception deck, it is something that you can use to get the truth out of people. You have to use it judiciously, and there's 4 techniques I recommend in the deception deck. And maybe I'll just read that card for you here. So if you're not familiar, the deception deck is my 52 favorite rules for spotting lies and deception. And the card I'm going to read today is called Uncooperative Subjects. When dealing with uncooperative subjects, a key tactic is to increase their cognitive load. The stress of lying combined with increased mental demand can significantly disrupt a liar's thought process. Effective techniques include 1. Surprise, asking unexpected questions that someone fabricating a story is unlikely to have anticipated. 2. Detail, probing for intricate details that are often omitted in a fabricated narrative. 3. Reversal, requesting the subject to recount their story in reverse chronological order. And 4. Speed, demanding quick responses and imposing penalties for hesitation. These methods can effectively unbalance a deceitful individual, revealing potential inconsistencies in their account. So, these are 4 techniques to increase cognitive load, but getting someone angry or riled up, or having them do their interview late at night when they're more likely to be tired, is a great way to to hit someone when they're more stressed and their cognitive load is heavier and they're more likely to slip up. And that might be what's happening here.
Of videos of Seth on here saying some foul stuff. I've got videos of everybody and their comments out here.
But
Trust me, what I'm bringing to you is not that I'm just pulling stuff out of the air.
I understand. No. And Chris, I'm glad you cleared that up. That's a
So,
good.
and by the way, they didn't go for a month.
Okay.
They went for 2 weeks. My stepdad went on business. My mom went with him, but it's really nobody's business.
Well, but Chris, let me, and please understand. I swear to God, I'm coming from a place of understanding because I've been doing this for years. Okay. Here's the thing. When you ask the public for help, they're going to look at everything and try and figure out what happened to Sebastian. And let me tell, from an outsider looking in, it's okay. His parents left town shortly after. Was there a reason? Did they take Sebastian with him? It is speculation that I am sorry it's hurtful to you, and I understand it.
So this lady, I need to find out what Web Sleuth's background is, because she's doing a great job keeping him on the call. She's keeping a level head, and she's getting him to continue talking. And that's what we need to actually figure out if someone has guilty knowledge. We need their statements. And it's part of the reason why I've been so forgiving of the Proudfoots, because I wanted to interview them myself to demonstrate my interview technique with a live subject. So, Chris and Katie, if you are watching, I would still like to interview you. I still don't think you necessarily did anything to Sebastian. It might have just been a tragedy of a situational tragedy. And I'm willing to extend the benefit of the doubt, as I've mentioned in these videos, especially this one, using math to solve true crimes. However, because you've not done an interview with me, I'm relying on analyzing other interviews. And so far, we've seen the first red flag statement, as far as I'm concerned in this case, which was when he belittled them for not knowing what happened. The implication of which is that he does know what happened and they're wrong. If you're in the same boat as people, same boat of ignorance, I wouldn't expect you to insult other people for being ignorant. In fact, if they had theories about Katie or his parents or Seth, I would expect him to be interested in those theories rather than trying to shut them down.
And that's why it's important that you clear it up. Just clear it up. Nobody's trying to be hurtful or mean. I promise you, we've all been asked to help find Sebastian. And this is what we do. We try and think outside the box. We try and ask questions and think outside the box and figure out what has gone on.
But
It is
your
not
problem with
meant.
thinking outside of the box
Mhm.
does nothing but cause speculation. And it causes people to call in tips that don't mean anything.
This is another red flag statement. How does he know the tips they are receiving don't mean anything? And we actually saw in my series about Jen Soto, we saw Stephen Stearns make similar comments about, well, there's video, but it's not useful, or there's tips and evidence, but it's not helping us. In my video, How to Expose a Psychopath. And he is now being charged with with murdering Madeline Soto. And I thought that he did it even back a month ago when, it was still unclear. I also think his girlfriend, Jen Soto, was involved. But why did I think that? One of the reasons was he was able to dismiss evidence so easily. So whereas Chris just said all these tips don't mean anything, how would he know that? If he doesn't know what happened to Sebastian, how is he able to discount even the wildest tips? You would expect him some curiosity in the tips because some of them might be correct, because as far as he's supposed to know, he doesn't know what happened. So we're starting to see some red flag statements. A, because this interview is actually allowing him to talk, unlike Nancy Grace and unlike the news reporter who we analyzed, where they continuously fed The responses to him are asked closed binary yes no questions, which didn't allow him to elaborate. But here, Web Sleuth is letting him ramble on and doing it, I think, late at night while he's angry, which is great.
That you're taking sources away from the investigation because Joe Schmo down the street thinks that my family owns a cemetery. We own a funeral home. Like, where in the hell do you get up with this stuff? And not
Okay.
you. I'm saying the public.
And so that, Chris, that's why it is great that you're here, because we want to clear this up and help you get it out. And I'm going to tell you something, Chris, when it comes to the general public, they're always going to be calling in crazy tips and doing crappy things. And all we can do is say, that's not us. We are not doing that.
Well,
But
It doesn't
and
matter,
I
though.
did want to
That
clear it
does
up.
not
Chris.
matter.
I
Doesn't
did want
matter
to clear it
one
up,
iota.
Chris. I
Chris?
did reach out to you on March 17th, publicly and privately. You responded to me publicly. You asked me to ask my question publicly. I did. You didn't respond. I reached out to you privately again. So I have reached out to you.
Where in the public? Where?
So it looks like Chloe and I are in the same boat. He's monitoring social media, but he's picking and choosing who he actually talks to.
I reached out to you on Facebook. I reached out to you on Facebook Messenger privately. You've never read my message.
Well, don't take this the wrong way, but a lot of the bullshit that I get in Facebook.
No, that's fine. That's
I'm
fine.
not-
I just want to make
yeah.
it clear that
Can I explain to you?
yeah.
You send me messages along with thousands of other people.
I understand that. And that's why I took it public. And you did respond to me and ask me to ask my question publicly because you wanted whatever answer you were going to give to be public to clear it up.
What was the question that you asked me? Since I neglected your question,
And that's not
was
what
your
I'm
question?
saying. That's not what I'm saying. I want to make it clear that I haven't.
So this is a little bit of, we're starting to see a lot of Chris's true colors here. The manipulations he uses. So imagine being Sebastian, right? An autistic stepchild of this guy. Earlier, he said Chloe never reached out to him, and he held that against her. Now she's providing proof that she did reach out to him, and the goalpost is moved. Well, you reached out to me along with thousands of people. I didn't read it. So even when he's wrong, he doesn't admit he's wrong. So he's stubborn, likely very chauvinistic. He continuously tramples over the women and interrupts them. And I haven't seen him do an interview with any men, which is typical of chauvinists, right? They're cowards deep down, just like Don Wells. That's why they never do an interview with me. Chris, I welcome you to do an interview with me. I'm sure you'll be sweet as a little lamb. And all this does not mean he's guilty. That's my main point. All of these things could just be contributing factors towards Sebastian wanting to run away and then having something terrible befall him. Or having an atmosphere of being very strict with Sebastian and, potentially borderline abusive to the point where they were engaging in reckless punishments, like putting him outside without shoes, when autistic children are known to run away from time to time. So that could be reckless. So it could be neglect, negligence, recklessness. It could be premeditated murder. It could be any of these things. But we can't zero in just yet. But we are starting to see some red flags that he knows something that we don't know. For example, when he's able to dismiss tips so easily. He's spending all this time on social media watching live feeds of people talking about him, but he's not opening up his messages. What if someone kidnaps Sebastian and they're sending a message to him asking for a ransom? He's not opening those messages. He's spending all this time on his computer or his phone, but he's not opening up every message. He's not asking any kidnappers out there to contact him or talking to Sebastian through the camera.
Haven't not tried to reach out to you.
And Chris, I know you're mad. God, I can feel it, I can hear it, and I understand it. You've got to believe me when I tell you this. Please, if you can dial it back a bit and get us some of these answers and let us help you clear up this bull so it doesn't interfere anymore. And like I said, you're always going to have crazy people interfering and coming up with rumors, and it's so maddening and frustrating, and I hate it. It pisses me off more than anything, and anybody that knows me knows
It
that.
pisses you off? You're not in our shoes.
I
You
know.
haven't been in our shoes.
Okay, well, you don't know that, but I haven't been in your shoes and missing a child, no. But believe me, I can understand what you're going through, and what I'm saying is we can help you, Chris. We can help you.
So, as far as the title of this video, do innocent people get angry workshopping a title like that? The fact of the matter is that yes, innocent people can be very unlikable. In fact, it's ingratiation is one of the signs of a deceptive or guilty person. And I'll read you that card and then I'll go into my thoughts about Chris Proudfoot here while he's grilling web sleuths. Ingratiation. Liars sometimes use excessive friendliness as a tactic to divert suspicion. If an individual becomes unusually polite when a sensitive topic is brought up, or in unexpected situations like emergencies, this behavior could be an attempt to deflect attention and avoid scrutiny. So I have the concept, the rule, and then an example. In this case, the example is Casey Anthony, who was very polite during her 911 call reporting her child missing. So, how does this apply to Chris Proudfoot? The fact that he is mean and not trying to ingratiate himself is ironically a good sign, because parents of actual missing children are unhappy with the police because every day that passes, as far as they're concerned, the police have not done their job. They've not found their kid. And when I analyzed Seth Rogers in the first video of the series, we saw that he didn't particularly ingratiate himself with the police. He said, they're doing good, but there's plenty more they could do. Right? The biological dad of Sebastian Rogers hit all the criteria of an innocent parent when I analyzed him. So the fact that Chris is not ingratiating himself is ironically a plus. However, if he is going beyond simply just not ingratiating himself to trying to shut down conversation about the case, that's different. Right? So not being overly friendly is not the same as shutting down conversation or being overly rude. And that's where you have to actually listen to the words they're using. So here he's displaying zero curiosity about any ideas or speculation or tips even. And he's belittling all these YouTubers he's watching for being clueless as to what happened and not knowing what happened. That is beyond just not being ingratiating. That seems to be him mocking them because he knows something that they don't know. And I think that lots of people who have asked me to cover this case pick up on that. And what I would like to do if I had the opportunity to interview him is figure out what he knows that we don't know. It doesn't necessarily need to be something incriminating or even about that night. So, do innocent people get angry or have outbursts? Yes, they do. They can be very frustrating if you're innocent to be accused of something you didn't do. However, innocent people, in reaction to that, typically A, deny what they're accused of, so they're able to clearly deny it. No, I did not kill my son. Or no, I do not know what happened that day or that night. And then they furnish proof to support their claim. So, for example, they deny it and then they might say, I will do a polygraph and then actually do the polygraph. Or I will turn over my phone to the police or provide whatever is needed to back up my claim. So just a denial without proof isn't particularly good, but just offers of proof without denial also isn't particularly good, even though it's a more sophisticated form of deception. And I covered Alan Dershowitz on the channel when he did that. So far, we haven't seen Chris deny anything or furnish any proof, but he is apparently trying to shut down the conversation. Right? He's trying to chastise these people for looking into the case. And in fact, he might be particularly sensitive about this particular feed because the private investigator, Chloe, is on the feed. And that probably concerns him. And that might be why he's lashing out to try to scare her off. For example, when ISIS back years ago started cutting off people's heads and putting out those videos, lots of commentators said, wow, ISIS is getting powerful. Look what they're doing. They're sending out these videos. My opinion was the exact opposite. They're getting desperate. They're trying to telegraph their power rather than doing actual things. They're trying to stop people from coming after them by trying to scare them off. And I turned out to be correct. And it's the move of a coward. So he might be scared of Chloe. And then the question is, why is he scared of that? Is he scared because she might uncover something embarrassing in his past? Or because he actually has guilty knowledge about what happened to Sebastian on that night when he disappeared? That's the big $1 million question. And we're starting to see some red flags that are causing me to put a couple of chips on he actually does know what happened. And Chloe, if you're watching this, I'd also be interested in interviewing you, even if you just want to come onto the DD forum at forum.deceptiondeck.com so we could do an AMA with my audience.
All right. Anybody here in this chat that asked about a cemetery, it's because somebody else brought it up. Just tell us.
Exactly. And my question comes back to, where do these people come up with this crazy crap?
That's a $1 million question. I don't know.
Yeah, online.
Let's clear it up. Let's clear it up for you. Let us help you.
You're saying, I believe, Chloe, you're saying online. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm sorry, I said that. There's a lot of
Stacy.
crazy people online, and just to let you know, I understand you get a lot of messages. I reached out to you when Sebastian first went missing too, to see if we could help in any.
Another thing to pay attention to in these interviews is, what does the person get sensitive about? Because whatever they're sensitive about, whatever they bring up as particularly, that's ridiculous, or that's crazy, or I could never do that, right? Whatever they're trying to mock, they're probably doing that because that's the thing that's close to the truth. So he mentioned something about a cemetery or a funeral home. We should make note of that. He's constantly addressing Chloe, which is why I think that might be the reason he called into this particular one, because he's nervous about Chloe. And we saw lots of parents do this, right? The McCanns, the Ramseys, the Wells, whatever they bring up on their own to belittle is usually the path we should go down. It's kind of like, if I call you purple, that might not hurt your feelings. You might not care to rebut me because you're not purple.
But I'm telling you, please let us help you, okay? We're not here to point fingers at you or whatever, but the problem is, and this is what we were talking about earlier, Chris, when the public is asked to help and then no information is provided, then people, because of social media, and social media is here to stay, unfortunately. This never used to be a problem, never, until social media, and it's terrible. I will be the first one to admit it's terrible. But let us help you clear it up, okay? So you don't own a cemetery and you don't own a funeral home, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay, everybody stop with that bullshit, all right?
Here, let me add this to the thing. We don't own a private plane. We don't own 78 pieces of property. Mm-hmm. We don't own a private yacht. What else do you guys want to come up saying that we own? Like we're...
So now he's throwing in a bunch of ridiculous things, right? So reducto ad absurdum. But he wasn't being ridiculous when he talked about the cemetery or burial ground. He brought that up as sensitive to him. Out of all the speculation online, that's the one that got him. So we need to look into that, actually, right? That's the irony of it.
Millionaires or something, like we've got this money growing off trees, which, by the way, it'd be great if we did, because I guarantee you we wouldn't need anybody's help because he'd have been home by now.
Right. No, I understand. No, I completely understand. Okay. But understand, when the public is asked to help with social media, this is what social media does. and it can be your
Worst nightmare.
or your best friend.
Yes. Yes.
And let us help it. And I can give you examples. I can have you talk to people that have said, yes, the people at Web Sleuths, they've helped us. They've been great. Okay.
Yes.
But hey guys, I understand why Chris is angry, because it's coming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Horrible crap about him.
Absolutely.
Okay. And his family. I get the anger. So we're going to help you. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to let my cat out before she drives everybody crazy. So I apologize. So hang on. Chloe, is there anything you'd like to say while I let my cat out before she drives me nuts?
So she's really good. As far as I didn't go into this thinking it would be an interview technique video like I did with Nancy Grace or Dr. Phil or Piers Morgan or Chris Murdoch from the interview room. But Web Sleuths is really good. So I didn't analyze her technique much here, but she's great at de-escalating the situation and keeping Chris Proudfoot on the phone talking. And she's not guiding him. You'll notice, like Nancy Grace, she's not giving him binary yes or no questions or feeding responses to him. She's saying what she has to say to keep him on the phone.
I will ask the question. I'll actually read you the message I sent you. This was March 17th. Good afternoon, Chris. I wrote this in a chat you're involved with, but I'm worried it may be lost because there's so much chatter. First, let me say I'm a Tennessee private investigator and have been praying and actively bringing awareness to Sebastian from day one. His case is near and dear to my heart. I had a question. I know Sebastian went to his dad's every other weekend or so. Did you come home on those weekends? Not a specific date, but just in general. Or did Katie come and stay with you? Are you often gone during the week? Just curious about Sebastian's day-to-day dynamic with his parents. And then I messaged you again after I posted that question publicly. You asked me to post it publicly, and I.
This is another wrinkle in the case that I've noticed. So while I think that Seth Rogers is innocent, right, the biological dad, because I analyzed him, I don't think he has any guilty knowledge. It's curious that Chris and Katie have zero suspicion about him. Sort of like how the McCanns had zero suspicion about their friends, right? Madeline must have been kidnapped. But as far as they don't know what happened, but yet they never suspected their friend Matt, who checked the room right before Madeline allegedly went missing. And these sorts of plot holes are often how we spot hoaxers and liars on the channel. Because even Hollywood blockbusters with multiple scriptwriters, editors, unlimited budgets, unlimited time to craft airtight stories still have plot holes. So when you have two parents who are under the gun, guilty, nervous, don't know what all evidence is out there, whatever stories they cook up typically have plot holes. And we saw this most recently in my Madeline Soto series, where it looks like the story between Jen and Stephen Stearns was scripted beforehand. And there were tons of plot holes. And now Stefan's going to go down because of that. And hopefully Jen does too. So what Chloe's asking here is a good question about Seth. My question would be, why do you not suspect Seth did anything? Just to see what they would respond. And her question here about, is it regular for you to leave town? That's a great question, because it could be that, let's say it's the only time he left town in the past 6 months. It's very convenient. That might be him setting up an alibi.
And I did, and then I wasn't answered. And I said, hey, Chris, just messaging again. So it'll be at the top. I know you said you get a ton of messages.
All right, so the thing here with Chloe, though, is she has the opportunity now to get him to answer these questions. She should be asking him them one by one, but instead she asked them all at once, so a compound question. And what people tend to do is when they're asked a compound question, they pick the one that's easiest to answer, and then they only answer that one. So if I were Chloe in this situation, I would say, what are your thoughts about Seth Rogers? And let him go from there. And then sort of zero in, allowing him to use his own words to explain to us why he has zero suspicion Seth might be involved. As far as he knows, they have no idea what happened to Sebastian. They can't conclusively rule out Seth, can they?
Messages.
And just in case you're here and you're not picking up on my tone, I personally, like I said, think Seth is not involved. I've analyzed him myself in my first video in this series. My point is, as far as Chris Proudfoot knows, Seth could be involved.
So, and again, we understand that you get a ton of messages. We absolutely understand that. Is there somebody else in our chat room? I can't see it.
Heather.
Heather, do you want to come up? I guess she does.
I'm here.
Oh, she is? Okay. Oh, hi, Heather. I didn't see you there.
Hi.
Okay.
There's a lot of talk. I didn't really have a chance to say hello.
And this Heather is the other private investigator.
Yeah, I know who Heather is.
Okay. Heather, would you like to say anything?
So we're coming up on an hour, so let's do this. If you want me to continue this series, let's get this video to 50,000 views. On your screen now is my video about how missing information can cause people on social media to form conspiracy theories. It's called What Does Oversensitivity Look Like? It's one of my most underrated videos, but I personally think it's one of the best for understanding why omissions are the mothers of conspiracies. So please do give it a watch. Until next time, stay true.